She says, "You're too emotional." She goes ghost for 2 days, then pops back like nothing happened. She tells you, "I don't owe you anything." If a woman says or does any of these things, I don't care how good she looks, walk away immediately. Because what's really happening here? It's deeper than it looks. And if you miss the signs, you'll end up chasing someone who only enjoys the control. There are certain red flags in dating that you don't see coming until it's too late. And by the time you do, you've already given your time, your energy, maybe even your dignity. This video is going to break down the exact words, moves, and signals that show a woman doesn't respect you, even if she's pretending to care. Trust me, once you see these, you can't unsee them. She says, "You're too emotional." She vanishes for 2 days, then comes back like nothing ever happened. She acts sweet one minute, cold the next, and when you call it out, she flips it back on you. And somehow, you still find yourself wondering if you're the problem. If a woman says or does any of these things and you ignore them, you're not just setting yourself up to be hurt. You're training her to treat you worse. This isn't about being bitter or overly sensitive. This is about self-respect. Because if you don't know when to walk away, you're going to spend your life getting played by women who know exactly what they're doing. Most guys won't tell you this, but a woman doesn't need to hate you to mistreat you. Sometimes she just doesn't respect you. That's it. And respect is the foundation of everything. Without it, there's no loyalty, no honesty, no commitment, just convenience. She'll hit you up when she's bored, lean on you when she needs support, use you to feel wanted. But the moment you need something real, she'll pull away, get defensive, or hit you with lines like, "Why are you being so needy?" That's not a woman who cares. That's a woman who enjoys the power. And here's the trap. Because she's not directly cruel, you convince yourself to stay. You remember the one good night you had, or the time she complimented you, or the way she texts sometimes late at night. You focus on the crumbs, hoping they'll eventually turn into something more. But they never do. Because the more you tolerate disrespect, the more you teach her she doesn't have to give you anything real to keep you around. All she has to do is show up occasionally, drop some affection here and there, and disappear again. Let me say something that might sting a bit. A woman who truly likes you doesn't confuse you. She doesn't leave you questioning your worth. She doesn't play with your time, your emotions, or your patience. If she's doing that, if her actions and her words never line up, she's not unsure. She just doesn't care enough. And that's the part most men don't want to accept. It's easier to believe she's confused than to admit she's just not that invested. But the moment you accept that truth, everything changes. There are certain phrases a woman will say that reveal her mindset, and they aren't always obvious. For example, if she says, "I'm not ready for anything serious," but still wants your attention, your emotional support, your energy, that's not honesty, that's manipulation. She's keeping you in a gray zone. She wants the benefits of having you around, but none of the responsibility. And if you push back, she'll act like you're pressuring her. But let's be real, if a woman truly wanted you, she'd make it known. She wouldn't need convincing. Another one is, "You deserve better." Sounds sweet, right? It's not. That's her way of pushing you away without feeling guilty. She knows she's not treating you right. She knows you're investing way more than she is. So instead of changing, she plays innocent and says things like, "I just don't want to hurt you." Meanwhile, her actions are already doing exactly that. So you sit there holding on, thinking maybe if you just wait it out, she'll come around. Spoiler, she won't. And then there's silence, the kind that's cold, calculated, and completely disrespectful. She reads your texts and ignores them, not once, not twice, repeatedly. But somehow, when she wants something, a favor, a boost to her ego, someone to vent to, suddenly she knows how to find you. That's not forgetfulness. That's intentional. And yet, you justify it. You say she's busy, she's got stuff going on, maybe she's overwhelmed. If she cared, she'd make time. If she respected you, she'd respond. Period. Look, I get it. When you like someone, your mind works overtime to protect your feelings. You look for the good, you justify the bad, and you hold on to potential. But the truth is, potential doesn't mean anything without action. A woman can have all the right qualities on paper, but if she treats you like an option, then she doesn't value you. And if you stay in that situation, you're telling her that her bare minimum is good enough. Sometimes it's not even what she says, it's how she behaves in subtle ways, like when she's constantly comparing you to her ex, or when she flirts with other guys in front of you, then tells you not to be insecure, or when she only reaches out when she needs something, but vanishes the moment you need her. These are all forms of emotional games, and the longer you stay, the more you get caught in them. What most men don't realize is this: women test boundaries constantly, not always on purpose, but it happens. And the way you respond teaches her everything. If you let her ghost you and still reply with, "Hey, hope everything's okay," she knows she's got you wrapped. If you forgive disrespect just because she looks good, she knows she can get away with it. And from that moment on, the dynamic shifts. You're no longer a man she has to earn. You're just another guy orbiting her, hoping for a chance. But here's what changes everything: self-control. Not anger, not revenge. Just the quiet strength of knowing when enough is enough. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop waiting, that's when she realizes she lost control. That's when the power dynamic flips. But by then, your goal isn't to get her back. It's to protect your peace. Because a woman who genuinely values you won't need to be taught how to treat you right. She'll already be doing it. That's the brutal truth. If a woman keeps disrespecting your time, your energy, your effort, and you keep giving her more chances, that's on you. She showed you who she was, and you didn't believe her. But now you know better. Now you see the pattern. And the only thing left to do is walk away before you lose more of yourself. You ever notice how some women only treat you right when they feel like you're slipping away? Suddenly, they become sweeter. They start replying faster. They compliment you more. They ask if you're seeing someone. But here's the catch: they never actually give you what you really want. It's all surface level. It's bait. And it works because it taps into your hope. You start thinking, maybe she's finally realizing my value. But what she's really doing is trying to pull you back just enough to keep you in her orbit. Not close enough to commit, but not far enough to lose you. This isn't love. This is control. A woman who truly wants to be with you won't wait until you start slipping away to treat you right. She'll do it consistently. Respect doesn't come in waves. If it does, it's fake, temporary, strategic. Some women are masters at giving just enough to keep you emotionally invested. They'll let you in just a little, then pull back. And every time you start to emotionally detach, they'll pop back up with some soft words, some fake vulnerability, maybe even an apology. And you fall for it again and again. But nothing changes. That's because the apology was never about fixing things. It was about resetting the trap. Another red flag a lot of guys miss is when a woman constantly criticizes you in subtle ways. Not in an obvious, aggressive tone, but through small jabs that mess with your confidence. She'll say things like, "You're not really ambitious enough," or "Why don't you dress like other guys?" or "I can't take you seriously sometimes." Then she'll brush it off with, "I'm just being honest," or "You're too sensitive." But she knows exactly what she's doing. It's not honesty, it's erosion. She's chipping away at your self-esteem so that you start to question your value. And once that happens, you become easier to control. And here's where it gets even darker. Some women will actually reward your lowered standards. Meaning, the moment you start accepting her games, giving more than you're receiving, tolerating disrespect, she'll reward that behavior with sex, affection, or validation. Why? Because it conditions you. You start thinking, okay, if I just hang in there, if I stay patient, she'll eventually give me what I want. And boom, now you're emotionally hooked. Now she can disappear for a week, ignore your calls, flirt with other guys, and you'll still be there because your brain is chasing the reward she gave you once, even though it's not coming back. That's how toxic bonds form, not from consistent kindness, but from emotional roller coasters, from unpredictability. The human brain is wired to chase patterns. When the pattern is chaotic, your brain goes into overdrive trying to figure it out. And that's what keeps you stuck. Not because she's amazing, not because you're weak, but because she's inconsistent. And your mind is addicted to solving the inconsistency. This is why you can have a woman who treats you like trash 80% of the time, and you'll still find yourself obsessing over the 20% where she made you feel seen. You need to understand how serious this is. You're not just wasting your time with the wrong woman. You're damaging your ability to recognize the right one. Because the longer you stay in a dynamic where love is tied to pain, confusion, or anxiety, the more that becomes your new normal. Then, when you meet a woman who's kind, clear, and consistent, you won't even know what to do with it. You'll either think it's boring or you'll push it away. That's the cost of tolerating low-value behavior. It rewires your standards. And sometimes, it's not even what she says to you. It's what she says about other people that reveals everything. If she constantly talks down on her exes, always blames everyone else, never owns her mistakes, that's a woman who lacks accountability. Trust me, it won't be long before you're the next guy she's trashing. If every past relationship ended with her being the victim, you better believe she's going to paint the same picture when she's done with you. Because the problem isn't everyone else, it's her. And the way she talks about others is exactly how she'll talk about you when things go sideways. Now let's talk about her social media behavior. Because in today's world, that says a lot more than it used to. If she's posting thirst traps constantly, but then says she hates attention, she's lying. If she deletes your comments but replies to random guys with heart emojis, she's not clueless, she's calculated. If she posts cryptic captions designed to make you feel insecure, things like "he'll regret losing me" or "single life is underrated," while she's still texting you every night, she's playing games. And if you tolerate it, she'll keep playing them. A high-value man knows one thing above all. He doesn't have to compete for a woman's loyalty. If you find yourself constantly wondering where you stand, who she's talking to, why she's acting distant, that's your sign. A real woman makes her intentions clear. She doesn't keep you guessing. She doesn't make you chase answers. And she damn sure doesn't use confusion as leverage. That's not mystery. That's manipulation. And the most dangerous form of manipulation? Guilt. She'll guilt you for having standards. She'll say you're too intense or too controlling just because you expect basic respect. She'll flip every issue back onto you. If you bring up her disrespect, she'll accuse you of being dramatic. If you pull back emotionally, she'll say you're punishing her. And if you ever threaten to walk away, suddenly she becomes the victim. That's how guilt works. It keeps you emotionally frozen. It makes you doubt your own boundaries. But let's be real. You already know when something feels off. You already sense it when a woman is draining you, disrespecting you, or just keeping you around for her own benefit. The problem isn't that you don't see it, it's that you keep giving her another chance, hoping she'll change, hoping the version of her you saw once, that sweet, affectionate, kind side, will somehow become permanent. But it won't. That version only shows up when she's trying to pull you back. The real version is the one who disappears, who criticizes you, who flirts with other guys in front of you, and calls you insecure for reacting. You want to know the strongest move you can make? Walk away and never explain yourself. Don't argue. Don't beg. Don't try to fix it. Don't even leave a dramatic message. Just go. Silence is the loudest statement. It shows you're not playing the game anymore. It shows you're not trying to win her. You're choosing yourself. That's when real change happens. Not just with her, but with you. Because the moment you walk away from what's disrespecting you is the same moment you make room for what will respect you. There's a moment every man hits where he finally gets tired of being confused, tired of constantly second guessing himself, tired of trying to read between the lines of every text, every dry response, every half hearted apology. And that's when it hits him. Not all attention is good attention. Not every woman who smiles at you, touches your arm, or keeps the conversation going actually values you. Some just want the convenience of having a man around without offering anything real in return. They want the benefits without the responsibility, the emotional support without the commitment, the validation without the effort. And here's the real mind trip. Some women aren't even aware they're doing this. They've just been conditioned to operate this way because it's worked for them. The moment you start doing the most, texting first, planning everything, being available 24/7, they naturally start doing less. It's not necessarily because they're bad people, but because your energy tells them they don't need to try. They get everything from you without ever feeling the need to invest. And once that dynamic is in place, it rarely ever balances back out. Once she sees you as the guy who overextends while she relaxes, that image sticks. That version of you becomes the role she assigns you. And no matter how much value you bring to the table, it won't matter because she's already put you in the do too much category. That's why pulling away is so powerful. It doesn't just shift the dynamic, it forces clarity. It strips the game down to its truth. Because now, she doesn't have your constant attention to fall back on. Now she has to choose, show up or move on. And that's when you finally see her real intentions. A woman who truly values you won't let you drift away. She won't just watch you go silent and move on like nothing happened. She'll reach out, she'll check in, she'll step up. Not with vague texts like, hey, stranger, or you've been quiet, but with real effort, with accountability, with change. But if you walk away and she replaces you instantly, take that as a gift. Take it as confirmation that she was never emotionally connected, that you were a placeholder, a backup plan, a source of attention she could replace with the next guy who liked her last selfie. It hurts, but that pain is temporary. What's worse is staying in a cycle where your value is constantly being negotiated, where your presence is only appreciated when you're absent, where your love is taken for granted because it's always available. Let's go even deeper. Think about what it does to your masculinity. Being in a relationship where your leadership isn't respected, where your efforts are dismissed, where you feel like you're walking on eggshells, afraid to speak your truth because it might push her away. That's not a relationship. That's emotional captivity. And the longer you stay in that state, the more your identity starts to erode. You forget what it feels like to be powerful, to be respected, to be desired by someone who actually sees you, not someone who just tolerates you until someone better comes along. You know what a high-value woman does when she's with the right man? She makes him feel at peace. He doesn't have to guess what she wants. He doesn't have to decode every passive-aggressive comment. He doesn't have to compete with Instagram or argue over Snapchat stories. He feels seen, heard, and respected. And you don't even realize how much tension you've been carrying until you experience that kind of peace. That's when you look back at the girl who played games and think, why did I even try so hard for her? That realization is everything. It's the moment you take your power back because now your standards go up. Now you don't chase half-hearted affection. You don't fight for the bare minimum. You don't beg someone to care. You become the man who walks away without a second thought the moment he's disrespected. And that's when everything changes. women start to treat you differently. Not because you're suddenly better looking or richer, but because your energy is different. You're not trying to impress. You're not over available. You're not seeking validation. You're grounded. You're composed. You know what you bring to the table, and you won't let anyone eat for free. Here's something a lot of guys don't talk about. Walking away doesn't always mean cutting off all contact. Sometimes it just means emotionally detaching. You can still be around her. You can still be polite, but you're no longer invested. You're no longer trying to fix it. You stop hoping for a shift. You let go of the fantasy you built around who she could be, and you finally see her for who she actually is. And once you do that, her power over you disappears. That's when you start noticing the little things that never sat right with you. The way she never asked how your day was. The way she rolled her eyes when you talked about your goals. The way she only showed interest when you started pulling away. And suddenly, the pedestal you put her on starts to collapse. Not because she changed, but because you finally stopped making excuses. You finally stopped romanticizing disrespect. And that shift, that's when real growth happens. It's not about being bitter. It's not about hating women. It's about recognizing patterns and protecting your energy. You don't have to villainize her to walk away. You just have to decide that your peace, your growth, and your future are more important than trying to earn the love of someone who never saw your worth to begin with. This is how you build power, not by yelling, not by demanding respect, but by removing yourself from situations that drain you, quietly, confidently, without explanation. Let her wonder why. Let her sit in the silence. Let her replay the moments where she thought you'd never leave. Because nothing hits harder than the absence of a man who used to care. And here's what always surprises people. When you walk away from someone who's been stringing you along, one of two things happens. Either they vanish like you never existed, or they come crawling back, acting like you're the one who suddenly changed. The truth? You didn't change. You just woke up. You stopped allowing mixed signals to confuse you. You stopped playing the role of the backup plan, the therapist, the ATM, or the emotional crutch. You stopped auditioning for a part you never should have had to earn in the first place. And now that you're gone, she realizes something. She never thought you'd actually leave. She thought you were one of those guys who'd always be there, no matter how little she gave in return. But you're not that guy anymore. And when she realizes that, the panic sets in. You might start getting those long, emotional texts, the ones that say, I miss you, or I was just going through something, or I didn't mean to push you away. You'll hear every excuse in the book. She might even pretend like nothing happened and try to slide back into your life like you didn't spend months feeling like you weren't enough. And this is the moment where you hold the power, not to get revenge, not to flex, but to choose peace over chaos, to choose standards over history, to choose yourself. Because let's be honest, deep down, you already knew. You knew something felt off. You knew her words didn't match her actions. You knew she wasn't as into you as you were into her. But you hoped. You gave it time. You tried to be patient, to be understanding. You made excuses for her behavior. You told yourself, maybe she's just busy. Maybe she's been hurt before. Or maybe she needs more time. But here's what she needed. Someone to keep feeding her ego without requiring her to step up. And once you finally stop doing that, the game ends. That's why walking away isn't weakness. It's discipline. It's the strength to detach from what you wanted, even when it hurts, because you know it's not aligned with what you deserve. A woman who values you won't make you guess. She won't be hot one day and cold the next. She won't keep you around while lining up other options in her DMS. She won't use confusion as an excuse to waste your time. She'll show up consistently, clearly, and completely. And if she doesn't, you leave. Without a scene, without begging, without explanations. Because the second you start negotiating your worth, you've already lost. The second you try to convince someone to see your value, you've already handed over the power. Real love doesn't need convincing. Real respect doesn't need chasing. When a woman truly sees you, truly wants to build something with you, you'll know. There won't be any games. There won't be delayed texts or dry responses or excuses. There will be effort. There will be alignment. There will be peace. The most dangerous thing you can do as a man is stay in a situation that slowly kills your confidence. And that's exactly what happens when you keep entertaining women who only see you as a placeholder. You start doubting yourself. You start thinking maybe you're the problem. You lower your standards to keep her around. You lose sleep wondering what you did wrong. You lose focus at work. Your energy drops. Your goals fade. All because you're trying to make something work that's not meant for you. That's not love. That's self-abandonment. And the longer you stay in that place, the harder it becomes to leave. But once you walk away, really walk away, you start to heal. You start to remember who you are. You start to realize how much power you were giving to someone who didn't even know what to do with it. You stop craving her attention because you've filled your own cup. You start focusing on your mission, your body, your money, your peace. And the moment that happens, everything shifts. You attract better, you demand better, you become better. And ironically, that's when she might come running back. But by then, you'll be long gone. Not out of spite, but because you've outgrown her. You've outgrown her games, her uncertainty, her inconsistency. And when that happens, you finally get it. Walking away wasn't the end. It was the beginning of self-respect, the beginning of standards, the beginning of a new chapter where you stop begging for love and start expecting it, where you stop proving your worth and start protecting your energy, where you stop hoping she'll change and start changing your own life. That's the real flex. Not getting her back, not proving her wrong, but becoming the man who doesn't need her anymore. So the next time a woman says something slick, mocks your emotions, downplays your worth, flakes on your plans, or treats your presence like it's optional, don't argue. Don't explain. Don't try to fix it. Just walk. Walk fast. Walk proud. Walk without looking back. Because when you stop chasing what doesn't value you, you make room for what does. And trust me, nothing is more attractive than a man who knows when to walk away. Subscribe for more.